Let's go. Let's go for walkies. Come on, Hero.
This is the story of Hero, a dog who went from surviving on the streets to finding a warm and loving home. But the most incredible part? He didn't just find a place to stay, he found a family willing to do anything for him. Hero belonged to a homeless man in California who loved him deeply, but when he realized he could no longer care for him properly, he made the heartbreaking decision to surrender him to a shelter. There, Hero was given a second chance at life and was eventually transported to Canada due to overcrowding at the shelter. Typically, dogs are moved from California to British Columbia, but in Hero's case, little was known about his past. All the shelter could say was that he had been deeply loved, but had to be let go.
Hero, speak. Yes, good boy, good boy.
Working with the homeless in my city, this story hit close to home. When we first met Hero, we took him for a walk to get to know him better. From the moment I saw him, I knew I wanted to bring him home, but I didn't want to pressure my husband. So I simply asked, "Do you think Hero is right for us?" He looked at Hero, then at me, and said, "I think so." At that moment, I could barely contain my excitement because I had already fallen in love with Hero, and it turned out my husband had too. We had both been afraid of influencing each other's decision, but deep down, we knew this dog was already ours. Hero is a unique dog, built like a bag of rocks, muscular and strong, yet covered in extra folds of soft, warm skin that are impossible not to notice. But the most incredible thing? He has a white patch on his back, and a year later, we realized it almost perfectly outlines the shape of the lake near our house.
You having fun, Hero?
Despite his strength, he can't handle too much strain. We take him on walks, but more often than not, he just wants to be home on his blanket. Sometimes he refuses to go outside at all, just standing at the door as if questioning whether he should even leave. We call these his moments of self-absorption. Our neighbors, seeing him frozen in the driveway, often cheer him on. "Come on, Hero, you can do it." And if he's extra stubborn, my husband simply picks him up, carries him to the other end of the street, and sets him down. At that point, Hero sighed as if to say, "Oh well, since we're here." Sometimes we even have to drive him a block away just so he'll agree to a walk. But his true happiness, the couch. Hero loved nothing more than curling up in a blanket, burying himself in its warmth, and just being. If he had his way, he'd never leave it. He's also incredibly smart. Sometimes it even scares me how well he understands me. One day, I came home after a terrible day, sank to the floor, and started crying. Hero walked over, looked at me with those deep, knowing eyes, and then walked away. I thought he just didn't know what to do. But seconds later, he returned, with his mat. Whenever Hero is scared, he lies on that mat. It's his safe place. And at that moment, he realized I needed something to make me feel safe too. Another thing about Hero? He hates conflict. If my husband and I argue, Hero immediately barks at him as if saying, "Hey, don't do that to Mom." If someone's talking loudly on the phone, he paces, circling the room like a true peacekeeper. Hero is an American. Staffordshire Terrier, but there's 10% of something unknown in him. We joke that his magic is in that 10%. We brought him home 6 years ago, and these years have been anything but easy. I lost my father, but through it all, Hero has been my light. He is pure goodness, a true gift of fate. Every night, he curls up in his blanket, and I look at him and say, "I love you. You're the best boy." And he knows. He's always known. If you enjoyed Hero's story, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment.
Okay. Okay.
I was told about 2 dogs that had been left in a backyard. When I first saw their faces, I was taken aback. Look at those faces, oh my gosh. It was heartbreaking. There was no shade, no shelter for them, and they had been left to fend for themselves. They had managed to destroy many things in the yard, out of frustration and probably the lack of proper care. But even in such a difficult situation, these 2 girls were incredibly sweet. I had never met dogs so affectionate and gentle under such circumstances. They were perfection in their own way. These two girls had been deeply loved by their human dad, but when they lost him, they truly lost everything. The love and bond they had with him were clear, and when he passed away, it was like their entire world had crumbled. My initial intention was to simply post about them, and no one was stepping forward. It was a difficult situation. But then, looking at their faces, I couldn't say no. How could I possibly? So I decided that I would take them in myself. Taking in one pit bull type dog can already be a challenge due to the stigma that surrounds the breed. But when you take in two, it obviously doubles the difficulty. People tend to have misconceptions about pit bulls, often believing they are inherently vicious or dangerous. But these two girls were the complete opposite of that. They had no aggression in them at all. They were gentle, kind, and just wanted love. However, they probably had never really walked on a leash before, and so I spent a lot of time working with them. I had to teach them the basics and build their trust. To my surprise, the transition was incredibly smooth. It was the easiest transition I had ever experienced. They followed my commands so well and were so well behaved. They never barked unnecessarily, never screamed or fought. It was just really sweet and heartwarming to see the bond they shared, and the trust they developed with me. After spending 3 months with them, I realized I couldn't separate them. They were a package deal. They had become so bonded to each other that the idea of breaking them up was unbearable. Unfortunately, after 3 months with no adoption applications or interest, I started to lose hope. I was getting discouraged, thinking that perhaps no one would ever take them. That's when something wonderful happened. A lady from Oregon reached out. She had seen their pictures and couldn't stop thinking about them. She was the only person who submitted an adoption application, and I just knew. Something inside me told me, this is their new mom. I had a gut feeling that she was the right person for them. So, we decided to take a chance. We packed up the girls and took a road trip to Oregon. The journey was long, but it was all worth it. When we arrived, it was love at first sight. The lady had even made a welcome home sign for Peaches and Polly, and seeing the joy and excitement in her eyes was heartwarming. She greeted them with so much love and warmth, and I could tell right away that this was where they were meant to be. The bond was instant, and I could feel my heart settle knowing they were finally in the right hands. It was such a surreal feeling to know that they had found their forever home. I didn't need to worry about them anymore. The love and care they would receive from their new mom was more than I could have ever hoped for. Now looking back, it feels so rewarding. It's been about a year since they've been. When we first met Elsa, the first thing that struck us was her skin. She looked like she'd been through a lot. Very sick, covered in fleas, and clearly a stray dog who'd been wandering for a long time. We knew she had been struggling and immediately realized she needed help. Her condition was heartbreaking, but what surprised us was her reaction. Instead of being frightened or running away, Elsa came right up to us. It was as if she knew we were there to help her. We immediately gave her flea and tick prevention, knowing she couldn't wait. It was clear that she had never experienced life inside a home. She was scared, not because she was a fearful dog, but because she didn't understand what it meant to be in a loving environment. It's often hard for bigger dogs to find a forever home, so we were incredibly fortunate when her foster mom stepped up to provide her a safe place. When it came to introducing Elsa to her new home, her foster mom was patient and understanding. She would leave the back door open, allowing Elsa to walk in on her own when she felt ready. It took some time for Elsa to understand the concept of indoor spaces. This was a kitchen, a living room, and yes, there was a couch she could lay on. It was a bit overwhelming at first, but Elsa slowly started to realize that this was her new home. Over the weeks, she started to open up and reveal her true personality. The shy, scared dog we first met transformed into a friendly, sweet, and loving dog. She started to bond with the other dogs in the house, interacting with them and becoming part of the pack. Her transformation was nothing short of amazing. She looked like a completely different dog, a happy, confident, and social pup. The next step was finding her forever home, and while it took some time, we were patient. Eventually, we were contacted by a wonderful family in Colorado who were eager to learn more about Elsa. When the adoption was finalized, it was an emotional moment for everyone involved. Elsa had found her perfect family. Her new mom sent me a video of Elsa running up the stairs with her new dog siblings saying, "She's not scared anymore. She has a mom and dad, a small human brother, and 3 other dog brothers." Elsa's rescue story is one of my favorites, and it's a reminder of how far love, patience, and understanding can go in transforming a life. I always joke that Princess Elsa got her happily ever after, because she truly did.
Come on. Look at you. Come on.
This story is about Espy, a dog whose life began in difficult circumstances, but thanks to love and care, found a real home and family.
What you doing, honey? Oh, baby girl, what you doing?
It all began the day 22 dogs were brought into the shelter. They were scared, confused, crammed into the corners of cages, not knowing what was going to happen to them. Espy was one of them. I first saw her at the Austin Animal Center. She looked thin, as if she hadn't been fed in months, and her eyes were filled with fear. As far as I could tell, her previous owner had bred dogs, but at some point couldn't take care of them. Too many animals, not enough energy and resources. As a result, they all ended up at the shelter, and each one's fate depended on finding a new family.
You look awfully confused this morning.
Oh, big stretch. Oh, goodness.
As I approached her cage, Espy was a little wary at first, but then she took a step toward me. I knelt down and held out my hand, and she cautiously approached, tail wagging. Then suddenly, she stood up on her hind legs, licked my face, and trustingly put her nose in my palm. It was then that I realized I had no choice. I pulled out the paperwork and immediately filled out an adoption application. Without waiting for an answer, I sent a text message to my husband. Look what I did. He was at work and didn't know that he would have a new family member waiting for him when he got home. When we brought her home, she was cautious. Any new room seemed scary to her. She didn't understand how to go through doors, and at first she would just stand on the doorstep, hesitating from paw to paw. We even had to pick her up and carry her into the rooms.
I didn't say nothing yet. He said, oh, well, thank you. That's so pretty.
But the most amazing thing happened when she climbed onto the couch for the first time. As soon as she settled down on the soft surface, as if she felt safe, she immediately fell asleep. We realized she had a real home now. Espy is an incredibly expressive dog. You can read her emotions in her eyes, ears, and even her snout. When she plays with a frisbee, her ears bounce, her eyes sparkle, and her whole expression says, "I'm so happy."
Did you find it?
She loves to run around the yard, and even more when she lies on the couch. I always joke that she looks like a baked potato. She has funny ears that stick out to the sides, which makes her extra cute. And even though she can be obnoxious at times, I love her no matter what. She has become a part of our lives and has helped us as much as we have helped her. Often when I'm in a bad mood, Espy is the first to feel it. She comes over, lays down next to me, puts her head in my lap, and it's like she's saying, "Hey, it's okay, I'm here." In those moments, all your worries go away. Espy is a true daddy's girl, in those moments when they play frisbee, and in other moments, she seems to choose me. And you know, that's the best reward for all the love and care we've given her. If you like this story about Espy, please like.
"Come here, buddy," I said softly as I stepped out of the truck. My eyes locked onto her, Emmy, standing in the middle of the street, fragile and afraid. The moment I saw her, my heart broke. Her leg was clearly broken, hanging awkwardly, and her fur was so matted and dirty she almost didn't look like a dog. But beneath all that pain, I could see something else. Hope. We approached slowly, not wanting to startle her. Every time we got close, she would back away quickly, scared and unsure. "It's okay, girl," I whispered, kneeling down. It seemed like she wanted to trust us, but just couldn't yet. We weren't even sure if she belonged to anyone. We began asking the locals if they recognized her. That's when we learned something surprising. Emmy had a family. They told us she'd been like this for a while, but they hadn't been able to care for her. When they saw how determined we were to help, they handed her over to us with hopeful eyes, genuinely wishing for her to have a better life. You could see the relief in their faces. From that moment, Emmy was ours. We rushed her to the vet right away, but veterinary care in that part of Mexico was limited. Her leg was in terrible condition. It had clearly been broken for a long time. In the meantime, we decided to take her to get cleaned up. Her fur was tangled and heavy with dirt. We had no idea what she even looked like underneath it all. When she came out from her grooming appointment, we were stunned. She looked like a completely different dog. "Oh my gosh," I gasped. "Is this even Emmy?" She was absolutely beautiful, glowing with new life, but her legs still needed answers. We visited vet after vet, gathering second, third, fourth, up to 7 different opinions. And heartbreakingly, every one of them said the same thing. Her leg had been broken for too long. There was no way to repair it. The only option left was to amputate. We struggled with that decision. It wasn't easy to imagine taking her leg, even if it meant relieving her pain. But then we saw her after the surgery, and everything changed. She was lighter, freer, happier. We could already see she felt better. Her tail wagged a little faster, her eyes were brighter, and not long after, Emmy stood up and took her first brave steps on just 3 legs. It was a moment I'll never forget. From there, Emmy only grew more confident. She's got this quiet, adventurous spirit, curious, cautious, but so full of love. She comes to us on her terms, nudging into us when she's ready and curling up close when she feels safe. She's a little furball of resilience. And now, Emmy's about to start a new chapter. She's been adopted by a loving family with 2 young children, and we just know she's going to be their best friend. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something so unexpectedly sweet. Fievel, the little dog we were fostering, was gently nuzzling into Eric, my husband, with this soft, affectionate look in his eyes. It was one of those quiet, powerful moments that catch you off guard. He rubbed his head into Eric's chest like he'd known him forever, and then, without hesitation, leapt right into his arms. My heart just melted. What made it so emotional was remembering how far he had come in such a short time. When we first brought Fievel home from the county shelter, after our rescue coordinator reached out to see if we could foster him, he was a completely different dog. His eyes looked hollow, almost defeated, and when we walked into the shelter to pick him up, it was clear he was terrified. He clung to the corners, avoiding eye contact, and especially avoiding Eric. Anytime Eric got near, Fievel would back away, tail tucked, trembling. He had no interest in interaction, no trust left to give, especially toward men. But Eric didn't give up on him. He took it personally, not in a bad way, but in a hopeful, determined way. Every day, Eric would sit quietly on the floor in the same room as Fievel, not pushing, not calling, just being there. He wanted Fievel to come around on his own terms, and slowly, Fievel did. The first time he inched closer, Eric simply smiled and held out a treat. No sudden movements, no expectations. Day after day, these small gestures built trust. And then one day, Fievel cautiously stepped into Eric's lap and curled up, an enormous breakthrough. From that moment, the change was rapid. Within a week, Fievel transformed. He went from being a ghost of a dog to a playful, curious, affectionate little guy. He started bouncing around the house, playing with our 3 resident dogs, chasing toys, jumping onto the couch beside us, asking for pets and belly rubs. It was like watching someone come back to life. What touched Eric the most was that Fievel, this tiny, once frightened soul, chose him. After all that hesitation and fear, Fievel decided Eric was safe, someone he could trust. Eric would hold him and just say, "Can you believe he was scared of me?" It became this beautiful bond, and for Eric it felt like a personal victory. But more than that, it felt like a gift. People often ask us, "Are you going to keep him?" And honestly, the thought has crossed our minds. But we foster because we believe in second chances, and Fievel's story is proof of what love and patience can do. The bond he's built with us isn't something we'll ever forget, but it also means he's ready. He's healed. He's opened his heart. And now, he deserves the next chapter of his story, a forever home where he can keep blooming.
This is the story of Mango, a dog who went through trials and tribulations, but finally found his family. They found him at a train station, thin, emaciated, with a blank stare, as if he no longer believed anyone would ever need him. There's a rescue group in New York called Grateful Greyhounds that works with shelters in Spain to find homes for dogs that have suffered from human cruelty. That's how Mango ended up in their loving hands.
Mango, speak.
At the time of his rescue, he was about a year old, still a puppy, but with a troubled past. He most likely belonged to a farmer or hunter who, as is often the case, simply got rid of him when he was no longer needed. Perhaps he had run off on his own in search of a better life. Either way, his fate could have been very different had it not been for those who reached out to him.
Do you want dinner? Okay, come on, let's go.
As soon as we saw his picture, there was no doubt in our minds that Mango was meant to be a part of our family. We didn't know what he would be like, what his personality would be like if he would be able to trust people again. But in that moment, that we decided that it didn't matter. We just wanted to give him a home. The flight from Madrid to New York took about 8 hours. When we first saw him at the airport, he looked even thinner than in the photo. But as soon as he got to our house, he was looking for a place to snuggle and be cuddled. It was as if he had been waiting for this his whole life. The first few months, Mango slept a lot. It must have been hard for him to believe that now he could not be afraid, that no one could touch him, hurt him, or chase him away. He knew nothing about life in the house. For example, he had to learn how to go up and down the stairs. The first few days, we literally carried him up and down the stairs. He just didn't understand how these strange stairs worked. But each week, he became more confident, and after 8 months of regular training, we knew for sure that Mango was the smartest, most loving, and loyal dog in the world. Mango is a true Velcro dog. He's always around, always wants to cuddle, put his head on your shoulder, hug you with his paws, but if his coat is a little prickly, his heart is softer than the warmest plaid. He's incredibly sensitive. He instantly senses who among us is sad, who needs support. We joke that he is not a dog, but a man in dog form. He understands emotions so subtly. We call him Twinkle Toes for his graceful walk and ease of movement, as if he was born to be a ballet star. And for his ability to curl up on the sofa and hide his paws, he got his second name, Baby Bean. It's as if he transforms into a travel size, taking up as little space as possible so we can snuggle comfortably next to him. Mango came into our lives at a very difficult time. We lost 5 of our grandparents in 1 year. It was a difficult, painful year, and at times it felt like there was no strength left. But Mango was there for us, and he would just sit next to us, put his head in my lap, and it was like he was saying, "I'm here. I know how hard this is for you, but you're not alone." We love him more than he will ever know, and we will do everything we can to make sure he never knows what loneliness feels like again. If you liked Mango's story, comment and subscribe to the
You don't like when I work at home. You just want scratches. He's a good boy.
This story is about Teddy, a dog who is convinced that he is not a dog at all, but a real person. And to be honest, sometimes I'm starting to believe it myself. I lost my previous dog 6 months before I got Teddy. The loss was hard, and I didn't think I could open my heart again so soon. But when I saw him at the shelter, something inside me flipped. He was so calm, so aware, as if he realized on his own that his life had just changed. His previous owners had just thrown him away, but I felt it immediately. He'd obviously lived in someone's home, knew what it was like to be cared for, and maybe even loved someone.
Really?
When I brought him home, I put a soft cot next to my bed, thinking he would sleep on it. But Teddy looked at the crib, then at me, as if to say, "Are you serious?" and immediately jumped on my bed. From that moment on, he didn't even question where he was going to sleep.
Teddy, you're all bundled up? Hi.
Every morning starts the same. I get up, get ready to go out, and he continues to lie in bed pretending not to notice. The only way I can get him to get up is with a gentle tummy rub. Yes. Without the morning ritual of petting, he simply refuses to start his day.
That's good. That's good.
Teddy is a dog who doesn't play like a dog. He doesn't understand what to do with balls. He doesn't chase toys. He doesn't bring them back. But he has his stuffed animals, babies as we call them. He carries them around with him, cuddles them, and tucks them in next to him when he goes to bed. He's incredibly gentle despite his brutal exterior.
Teddy, did you just squeak Santa?
When he was found, his ears were already purchased. The people at the shelter thought he was an American Staffordshire Terrier, but a DNA test showed he's 100% American Bully. He doesn't care what they call him. All that matters is that he's a mama's boy. He loves sitting next to me, cuddling and watching TV.
Hi, Teddy, are you in the pool?
Teddy is the dog with the most expressive face. He doesn't hide his emotions. When he's happy, he smiles. When he's offended, he pouts. When he's upset, he gives me a look that makes my heart sink. He doesn't like rain, hates snow, and when the weather is bad, he goes out only out of necessity, expressing his displeasure in any way he can.
Teddy, ready, go. Come on. Let's go.
But he is crazy about people. He thinks that all passers-by are obliged to greet him. Of course, not everyone shares his enthusiasm. Some even cross the street on purpose. But that doesn't stop Teddy from greeting everyone he meets.
You need a belly rub first. Is this your start button?
Most of all, he loves my dad. When he comes over, Teddy beams with joy, jumps up and down, wags his tail, and does everything he can to get attention. But in the end, he always comes back to me because he knows I am his mommy, and he is my baby.
What are you doing? You're very cute. Being a good boy.
On cold evenings, I put his pajamas on and he curls up and falls asleep in my lap, sighing with happiness. Teddy is not just a dog, he is my best friend, my shadow, my warm comfort. And if you feel his incredible energy like...
It's not that hot even, buddy. Come on, Moochie. You okay, big boy?
This story is about Meech, a huge bull mastiff who has remained a real puppy by nature. When people see us walking, they always have the same reaction. Oh my God, he is huge! And I can't help but smile because I know he doesn't realize his size at all. Meech truly believes that he is a small, cuddly pet that you can carry around in your arms like a tiny puppy. But But the reality is that he weighs about 150 pounds, and his size would intimidate anyone unfamiliar with his good-natured personality. As soon as I invite guests over, he's there, literally taking up their personal space. He just sits next to me and sometimes even tries to climb on my lap, sure that this is perfectly normal. Most people don't mind because he has a special kindness about him, but some people still get scared. I got Meech 2 years ago when he was a puppy. I remember the first time I saw him. He was the most adorable creature, and I couldn't hold back the tears. His soft, wrinkled muzzle made him even more adorable. There was something of both the English Mastiff and the Bulldog in him, a mixture of strength, grace, and unspeakable tenderness. When I got him, he was already a pretty big puppy. But even then, I didn't realize how big he would grow up to be. I knew bull mastiffs were big dogs, but it's one thing to see pictures on the internet and another to realize that your puppy is getting bigger every month and turning into a giant. At first, I decided I wouldn't let him sleep in my room, but Meech proved to be very stubborn. He sat patiently in front of the door, waiting for me to give in. And of course, I gave in. Now he sleeps in my room, taking up half the space. Sometimes I wake up in the night and feel him cuddling up to me, like a little child who just wants to be close to the one he loves. But there's more to his stubbornness than that. Sometimes, when the weather is nice outside, he just refuses to go home. He sits still and looks at me as if to say, "I'm not going anywhere." It's no use trying to talk him out of it, so I just sit next to him and wait. After a while, he decides it's okay to come back and gets up as if nothing had happened.
Come on, buddy. Let's go. You hot? Oh, poor baby. Oh, so.
To be honest, a lot of people are afraid of him. A woman once said to me, "Your dog looks so threatening." I understand her feelings. The massive silhouette, deep stare, and powerful build can cause fear. At times like this, I usually say, "Don't worry, he won't bother you." And of course, he's never let anyone down. When we arrive at the dog park, the first thing he does is run not to the other dogs, but to their owners to say hello. He approaches with his tail wagging and rests his heavy head on their hands, waiting for affection. His size often makes people wary, but once they see his demeanor, fear is replaced with a smile. Unfortunately, large dogs often get a bad rap just because of their imposing appearance. But in reality, they are the most loving and loyal of creatures, and Meech is proof of that. Inside this giant is the sweetest child who just wants to be around, get attention, and share love. If you like this story about Meech, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to see more touching and inspiring